All right, welcome back to the Power 2 here on College Football Addiction, and no shots at Cole, but you really do have the Power 2 today, just me and Tom. Cole may join here in a minute. I believe he is in Atlanta? I think he's in Atlanta for SEC Media Days. They vary their location, which I like. Although I was in Vegas last week, Tom, and I was hoping the dates would line up, but Big Ten kickoff is next week in Vegas, and I just couldn't. I've got to go to Charlotte for ACC, so we'll figure all that out next week. But when we were looking at dates to take my kids, which we went to Vegas and then we went to spend a couple of days at Disneyland, I was like, man, I'd really like to overlap that with Big Ten kickoff or
of course.
Media Days. It didn't work, but I was hoping it would.
We have Cole a little bit. The Wi-Fi has got to be fascinating in Atlanta at SEC Media Days. So live from on location, a beautiful Instagram picture we have.
Look, Cole, look at that though. Like I'm going to put Cole's, like Nate, our producer, just actually
better than your actual face.
No, go back to the other picture. I like the other picture better.
I say I look ugly. I look disgusting. I'm in the middle of I'm in the middle of the College Football Hall of Fame. I don't have my mic. I don't have my pad. I don't have my build up. I don't have my desk. I have nothing. And it's like, now the sun is like blaring in my face. It's like, God, I'm ugly today. I look like shit.
I thought about opening this up, but light behind you doesn't usually work. Yeah, see, it just looks terrible. So.
Horrible situation.
You guys can't look at Anaheim today.
Professional guys. Good Lord.
Yeah.
Not professional today, boys.
Yeah, it's talking season. When the football season gets here, we'll really have this thing ironed out. So, all right, well, let's get to it because Cole only has so much time, and I definitely want to get some of his takes on some of this SEC stuff first, and then we'll get into some other Big Ten stuff with Tom later. But, yeah, so not to cut an intro short, but TJ, shut up and let's roll. Diego Pavia winning the Heisman and the national championship. Buy or sell?
Sell, but, I mean, what do you want him to say is the main question here. Like, people are so mad that he's coming out and trying to put up these overall thought processes of not being considered a Heisman Trophy winner. And you know what? He's not going to win it. Everyone knows he's not going to win it. Everyone knows what is going into this year with a team like Vanderbilt. They had a great finish of 2024. They won multiple games against ranked opponents. They played up to the standard of every single matchup that they could outside of the Georgia State game. But what do you not want? Like we're sitting here and we have people saying, oh, I defend Thomas Castellanos for coming out and being bold and brash and being willing to say, this ain't going to be Nick Saban's team. This ain't going to be the old Alabama. This ain't going to be the one that we used to be so accustomed to. And now because it's Diego Pavia, like, you want to carry yourself that way. Like, if you're not thinking you can win the national title, if you don't think that you can win the Heisman Trophy, why am I expecting you to be my starting quarterback? Like, all 136 programs want a quarterback like Diego Pavia. All 136 programs would love to be able to have somebody that carries himself with that swagger, that mentality, that physical brand of, I'm going to shut you up with my on-field play, and then when I get the opportunity to go back, I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I shut you up with my actual comments later on. But that's who you are as a player, and that's what you need to be having. Like, honestly, with Diego Pavia, the bottom line is that if you don't have a quarterback built like him, you probably are having the wrong type of mentality.
I love the confidence, but in this social media era, he's going to get roasted. He's a poor man's Baker Mayfield. I really hope that you see some good things out of Vanderbilt this year and they can build on what they did last year. But when you have multiple Vanderbilt players talking about we expect to play into January, it's like, great. The Cheez-It Bowl is definitely something you should be striving for. I think that's something Vanderbilt could reasonably get to. But do I expect to see Vanderbilt in the college football playoff? No way.
I like the confidence. Yeah, as somebody who it took a week, finally came around to even Thomas Castellanos' comments. It's entertainment, guys. Like, yes, I like this. I like Thomas Castellanos' comments. We'll talk about the Alabama player snapping back here. I like that too. Yes, it is entertainment. Like, when I think about this, and somebody said this in my Discord, my FSU channel, when I was originally kind of against the Castellanos stuff, and they're different, right? What they've said is different, and I'm not saying they're exactly the same, but they're in the same vein. When I was like, man, I don't know if he should have said that. Somebody said, what are you afraid of? 3 more tweets? Like 3 more tweets from Alabama fans that were going to roast you anyway? Like, who cares? If Vandy goes out cold this year and goes 4-8, who cares? It's Vandy. What were we going to say? Oh, well, they had a magical run last year. Diego Pavia gave us some fun highlights. We all won it. Nobody's cheering against Vandy. Like, I do think people are cheering against Florida State, like that, and that's fine. Nobody's cheering against Vandy unless you're the opponent that they play that week. Like, everybody wants Vandy to win. Nobody's like, oh, I hope Vandy loses. No, it's great for the anti-SEC guys. They can crap. Oh, see, Bama lost another one, or Tennessee lost another one, or whatever. It's great for the SEC to show strength of the conference. It's great for everybody. It's like, who cares? Like, people, yes, he's not going to win it. But I want every quarterback. I want all 136 quarterbacks in FBS to think they're going to win this year. Like, that's just how you're supposed to be as a quarterback. I love it. It's entertainment. I hope every quarterback for the rest of all time says, I'm winning the Heisman this year, because you're supposed to think that. You're supposed to think you're the best player on the field at any given time. And so, yeah, it's great. I have no problems with Diego Pavia.
Here's the other thing. You can take it in this two examples. With Thomas Castellanos, you want him to maybe hush down because if you went 2-10 last year. Like, you had insurmountable amounts of drop-off at Florida State. And the standard at Florida State is to be a player in the ACC. It's to be a player in the world of college football. You're supposed to be one of the top names when it comes to the national championship. Like, that's what you're supposed to be, and that's what has been in Tallahassee. But with Diego Pavia, he's already beaten Alabama. And he beat Alabama in his home turf, and he beat Auburn on the road. Again, these are locations where he has gone out and shown you with his own success in the SEC, listen, throw whatever you got at me. I'm going to deliver. I'm going to be the reason why my team is actually catapulting itself in the right direction, which I'm totally cool with. But it's also Vanderbilt. Like it's Vandy. Like, Vandy goes 8-4, 9-3 this year. Do you understand how historic of a quarterback Diego Pavia is going to be for that program? Like, he already doesn't have to buy another drink on Broadway for the rest of his life for beating Alabama as they threw the goalposts in the Cumberland River. Like, that's already done. But then we throw in the fact he's going to maybe have an opportunity to lead his team to another ranked season where they're going down to the wire in every single game at Vandy. Again, it's at Vandy of all places. This isn't at Alabama or Auburn or Tennessee or Georgia or Texas. It's at Vandy. The win totals over the last 10 years is an average of 5 or lower. And he got to 7 wins last season. And he put up decent numbers. And he was a big factor for his team. And again, nobody is sitting out here going to be, how dare they give a Heisman Trophy to a Vanderbilt quarterback? No, we're going to applaud it. We're going to praise it. We're going to actually consider this to be one of the coolest things ever, that, hey, Colorado last year with a two-way player, and now we throw in Vanderbilt getting Heisman trophies. Like, this is what you want for college football to keep parity alive.
If they go 4-8, I'm sorry, 8-4. Let's back it up. I'm on Pacific time, so any mistakes today are just from that. If they go 8-4, he's going to finish top 10, and there's a chance at top 5. If they go 8-4, he's finishing top 5 in the Heisman. That's my take. Maybe I'm wrong on that, maybe not. But for them to go 8-4, they're going to have some massive upsets. He's going to have some massive performances, and he'll finish top 5 in the Heisman. Is my bold take. 8-4, 9-3, that he gets up there. Certainly,
I will say he is top 10 if they go 7-5. If he gets 2 upset wins, he's 100% going to be top 10 Heisman voting.
Because he's going to carry them to those wins. He's going to go off like he did last year for them to be able to do it.
Right. But now they also have a lot of film on him, and the offensive line's taking a step back. You do have Eli Stowers, so do you have that secondary punch? Like, that's going to be the main thing that I have. And, like, leaving SEC Media Days later on today, my last question for Vanderbilt is, who's that secondary weapon? Because they already are talking about bringing in Height to be the new wide receiver number 1, number 2. And he's going to play defense as well, so he's going to be a two-way player. But I got to see that defense take that. I mean, I got to see somebody on that offense be another weapon for this offense to take flight.
All right. Never thought we would lead off a show with Vandy and then go to Alabama, but that's exactly what we're going to do here. So, Vandy, you are welcome, because we will always show you the proper respect that you deserve here on College Football Addiction, the Power 2. All right, so on to Bama. On to the FSU, Thomas Castellanos, Alabama clapback. Cole, I know you've got to run here in a minute, but I did want to get you in for this segment. Talk to me about the clapback.
Look, Tim Keenan and Deontay Lawson did not appreciate what Tommy C had to say. They were not impressed with a quarterback coming into a program where he was benched last year that is now going to a team that went 2-10, being able to talk mad smack about the standard of Alabama changing because there's no longer Nick Saban. And so they made it abundantly clear that the disapproving comments will be addressed on the football field. And I love it. And it's absolutely what this game needs. You want to trash talk all you think is possible? By all means, do it. But when somebody is ready to go ahead and call you out, be ready to handle the smoke. That's part of the job when you end up saying these things in a world of social media. Number one, it's always going to be on the internet. Everyone is going to have access to it. Number two, there will be somebody willing to call you out and tell you that this is now a bigger deal because of you decide to go ahead and run your mouth. So there's no problem with it. I think that justice will be served and that the disparity of these comments will be addressed, but it will be addressed in terms of on-field play, not just this is the standard that we once knew. Nick Saban's gone, so toodaloo, we don't really care anymore. It's going to be, hey, you said this, you threw it out there, time to go ahead and pay the piper. And by the way, I got to shake Tim Keenan's hand when I was here. I got to have a one-on-one conversation with him. I don't know if there is an offensive lineman in Tallahassee, Florida that wants to go one-on-one with him in battle. And then Tommy Castellanos wants to feel just the hands, not the entire body of a 320-pound defensive tackle that moves like a 5-star edge on the outside. I think there is a player out there that truly, truly, truly is ready for what Tim Keenan is going to deliver. Oh, and Deontay Lawson says he's at 90% healthy. So that's another thing that you're going to have to worry about with the delayed blitzes for King Womack's defense.
I like this because you've got the veterans who represent what the Alabama brand has been about for a long time, even though there's been a change in head coach. And I know that changes what people think of Alabama, but still to see this veteran leadership stand up and say, yep, we're going to get you. And we've talked about it here on this show before, is that first drive or two for Florida State. It's going to be tough for Tommy Castellanos because of everything he said, but then you're going to get into the flow of the game and you have to see if it's contentious or anything like that. I love this sort of stuff. By all means, you're going to stand your ground in this type of game, especially really early in the season when everybody's itching to play.
Yeah, I mean, again, as a Florida State guy, no issues with this. You know, bring it on. I still don't buy so much into the bulletin board stuff. You know, if you needed Thomas Castellanos' comments to get you amped up for this game after going 9-4 last year, then I don't know, maybe Castellanos is right that the standard had dropped at Bama, because, you know, I don't know that Saban was needing bulletin board material to get his guys ready to go, you know. And so that is the one aspect of this, like, not to enrage the Bama fans, but maybe that's what I'm about to do. I mean, was Castellanos right about they can't stop me? I don't know. We'll find out on August 30th. What are we, 36 days away? 37 days? We're getting close. No, 44 is the number. 37 from just week 0. But was Castellanos maybe right about the standard slipping a little bit under Saban?
Stop it.
I mean, Castellanos is not the first person to have that thought. Every single person that covers this sport thought it slipped a little bit last year.
Yeah, sure, naturally.
So, you know, and that's not even a shot at DeBoer. That's not a shot at Alabama. You're talking about the greatest of all time. Did the Bulls slip a little bit after Jordan was gone? Did the Lakers slip a little bit when Kobe was gone? Did the Cavs slip a little bit when – I mean, this is not like – I don't think his idea of like Saban – now, a lot of people don't say it, right? Like a lot of people don't come out and say it. But like I don't even think his thought was that crazy that like the standard had slipped a little bit. I think every one of us who watches this sport thought that last year. I think most of the people inside the building in Tuscaloosa would have told you, yeah, last year wasn't what we wanted it to be. Does that mean it can't get back? Does that mean they can't be in the playoff? No, I think they're going to the playoff. But I don't even think his comments were that crazy.
He said the inside thoughts out loud, and that's the problem, I think. Yeah, I agree with you. There probably are people who do think Alabama has dropped off. I guarantee you Crimson Tide fans do not think that whatsoever.
No.
For all the reasons you just spelled out. How would you possibly be able to live up to the expectation, the standard that Nick Saban set? It's an impossible job that you gave Kalen DeBoer in year one. So I fully expect to see Alabama back in some capacity, completely back, national championship level back, remains to be seen. But Thomas Castellanos said the quiet part out loud, and he probably shouldn't have, and he might pay for it in August.
He could. Now, again, anybody who wants to also keep in mind this was DeBoer's first season in the SEC. He was working with a quarterback that didn't really fit his system. There was definitely some miscommunication when it comes to the type of players and process that he was building. And remember that there was a couple of names that decided to stick back in Tuscaloosa for another year because of they were the new foundational leaders. And if it's okay for a team like Ohio State to go ahead and pay for their own not to go pro, it's okay for Alabama to do the exact same. It's one season for a guy in Kalen DeBoer trying to emulate a new culture, but the same standard in Tuscaloosa, because he doesn't want to be a Nick Saban 2.0. So let's give him at least one more year, and then we can go ahead and throw the darts and throw the stones and say, this is the Alabama that I'm not used to. It's not my Bama. It's not my old school, but it's not going to be that. Just give it one more year, because I'm telling you what, you leave SEC Media Days with so much more confidence in what Alabama is going to be this year on paper. But again, it's not a game on paper. It's a game in production. I got to run. I'll see you boys next week.
See you, buddy.
Thank you, Cole.
I do think they'll be better this year. I do think Cole's right. I just hope it doesn't start until week 2. That would be my dream goal for
I want you to be happy. ELE, everybody love everybody, but it might be a little rough for your Knowles.
Yeah. I'm not picking them, but I hope Alabama goes 11-1. just to, to try and truce a little with the Bama fans. All right, this is kind of SEC related, kind of big picture, even though Cole is gone, and we're actually flying through this episode. So segment 3, 16 minutes in is a record. But Lane Kiffin, when asked about and talking about this cap, and we've talked a lot about NIL and house settlement, and shoot, I don't know, we didn't even talk about this, but I did do a video on it on the channel if anybody wants to check it out, about the SCORE Act and just different things going on. The idea of the cap is something that I've never bought. Never really thought that it would be a hard cap. I think it's kind of a cap for the schools. In all reality, I don't even know why it exists. There's not a cap on coaching salaries, and so why you're putting a cap on anything else doesn't. I understand why they're doing it, but in any other context, it doesn't make sense. No other employees, anywhere are capped, and no other marketing deals anywhere are capped in the world. But all that said, Kiffin talks about people not following the cap. I don't want to just throw Kiffin under the bus, because I think these coaches do have to say the right thing, right? Like, you can't just say, like, F it, we're going balls to the wall.
Right.
But I mean, before we even get into the big picture, do you think Ole Miss is following the cap, Tom? Is that a thing you think is reality? Because here's the other thing for Lane Kiffin. You don't have to say anything. People always say, like, oh, what do you want these coaches to say? And I guess I just said it. But, like, you don't have to say, oh, man, we're trying. Like, Ryan Day hasn't come out and said anything about this. Texas Tech hasn't come out and said anything. Sarkisian hasn't come out and said anything about this. So, like, when asked about something like this, you can say, hey, we're just trying to navigate this new system as well as we can. Like, these guys are all coach speak. But I would say there's a 98% chance that Ole Miss is not following the cap and is paying guys outside of the bounds of our new rules. And so for him to bring it up, it seems, I don't know, I'm not trying to call him a hypocrite, but it seems a little hypocritical if they are breaking the cap. Thoughts there?
I think Lane Kiffin speaks his mind very consistently, and I will give him credit for that. Is the way he feels, that's going to come out of his mouth. The Grove Collective is one of the more active collectives remaining in college football, as it seems like collectives are probably going to get phased out, and they've done a tremendous job grabbing talent for Ole Miss through this whole transfer portal era, and especially in recruiting. They've done very well in that department. But I think Lane Kiffin, there is a degree of hypocrisy with this, because if I looked at the biggest spenders in college football, absolutely would be looking at Ole Miss in that department. I like the idea of the cap, but like so many of these things with NIL, revenue sharing, the CFC, Deloitte, they're all great ideas, but it's still just this amorphous blob that we have yet to organize and corral whatsoever. Is you can try and put a cap on this and try and make it like the NFL, but we always talk about the McDonald's bag full of money that's been around for decades. I don't think that's going to go away when it comes to college football. So just because you tell major D1 schools, hey, you have $20.5 million to use for all of your athletics programs, and then the big football schools saying, hey, we're going to allot 15 to 18 million to our football team. Well, there's a story out there. Texas Tech has spent $28 million. We talked about it a lot last season, that Ohio State spent over $30 million on their roster. Like, it's just not plausible at this point in time. I would love to see it get to that. But then you also can talk about some of the things, like I saw Eli Drinkowitz was talking at SEC Media Days. He wants to see the playoff expanded to 30 teams. And he's like, well, only 10% of the teams in college football get the chance to compete for the national championship. And it just opens up a whole can of worms of like, do you really think the 15th through 25th ranked team in the country really has a chance at beating the top 5 teams in the country? And that's the issue we have with college football. Even if you put this cap out there and you say you afford this to Akron, Akron's not going to come up with $20.5 million for all their sports. Like if they have that, awesome. But like, what are they going to come up with for football? 5 max? So it's an uneven playing field to begin with. And there's an attempt to level it. It's just going to take a long time. I mean, decades.
You brought up the Drinkowitz thing, which I think is interesting. And I almost added this in as our wild card later. But yeah, like it just, I don't know why coaches, I don't know, man. I guess it's because they're at these media days and people just shove 8,000 microphones into their mouth. And so they feel like they have to talk. But the expanding the playoff thing to 30 is the most asinine thing I've ever heard. Like there are so many reasons, and even mentioned the NFL, right? Well, the NFL has this many this percentage of teams, 40 is it, or maybe a few more. They've got 40 something percent of teams, and well, they also have negotiated salaries and contract maxes and contract minimums. And yes, does a guy make a little bit more here or there? Yes, but for all intent and purposes, you're not making. The Chiefs are paying Patrick Mahomes what everyone else would pay Patrick Mahomes. Like he wouldn't go to New York and all of a sudden make 5 times more the money because he's in a bigger market. And so, yeah, Patrick Mahomes' value is the same everywhere in the country, right? And same with Josh Allen and any of these guys, right? When Jeremiah Smith goes top 5 overall, maybe number 1, he will have an assigned contract value. Like they can't pay him any more or less. Mm-hmm. And so in the NFL, it's a much more regulated model. Everyone is operating with around the same budget, right? Because of league revenue sharing. It's all on the same 4 TV channels. Like you're not getting stuff on, oh, well, this team makes more from Fox and this team makes less from ESPN and the ACC is under this umbrella or whatever. So the NFL is a completely different model. And in the NFL, we've seen it. The 12th best team can win. It is possible because the rosters aren't that different. I don't even think 12 teams is necessary. I was never a proponent of going away. I mean, shoot, I was never a proponent of going away from 2, but I was never a proponent of going away from 4. And I understand the reason Drinkowitz and other coaches that think, oh, we should expand this out, we should go further. It's not just a slam on him. Other coaches think the same thing. I mean, they want to get in because Missouri's never going to consistently make a 12-team playoff. In all reality, they may slip up and find their way into a 16 here and there, but Missouri's never going to make a 16-team playoff with any consistency either. The same big dogs that have always run this sport are always going to make it. Will you get an occasional SMU in? Will you get an occasional Boise State, from the group of 5 in? Will UNLV maybe make it in this year? Because yes, you'll get those because and they'll go as lambs to the slaughter, right? Like it'll be the same thing every time. And so would Missouri. Missouri's never going to get in and win more than 1 game in a college football playoff. And the one they would win would be because maybe they match up against one of those group of 5 teams or something like that, or a weak Big Ten team or ACC team that happened to sneak in. So yeah, it's a completely different sport. It makes no sense at all to try and think like, oh, well, we should make this the NFL. Unless you're going to institute, do you want to institute a draft out of high school? Because then I think you could start to say, okay, well, yeah, let's put more teams in because our rosters truly are just purely even. There's no portal. There's no moving around. They're just employees. Let's make it as all 136 rosters as even as we can. Let's water down the sport completely by doing that because you're taking all the talent away from the top and just making everything even. Let's make it 100% parity. And then sure, throw them in. I don't think there's any, coaches say these things. Going to 30 seems like the worst idea in the world to me. Going to 16 seems like a stupid idea to me. Like there's no real reason for it. I understand, oh, well, the SEC plays a tough schedule every week and these teams are better than, this 5th best SEC team is better than the 3rd best, Big 12 team. Yeah, they probably are, but they're still the 6th best SEC team. They're still not going to win a championship, right? Like that's what we're talking about. And so, Missouri getting into the playoff consistently, they would at 30, but they're never going to win a title. Like it's just, we'd make the playoff and make more money. And so it makes no sense to me. And these coaches, they just, again, we're sticking 700 microphones in their faces, so they got to fill some kind of time, I guess. And so I guess I'm not blaming them fully, but it makes no sense.
No, you got to say something. And like, I understand what's at the heart of what Drinkowitz is saying and what Lane Kiffin is saying is they want to include more teams, give more people opportunities, and attempt to level the playing field, attempt to put some guardrails on this, put some real rules in place that give people a fair shot. And that's a noble cause. But again, like, I feel like we bag on UVA on this program all the time, but like, say Virginia winds up as the 25th best team in the country, and it's like, hey, you're in the college football playoff. Does anybody buy that program or any middle of the road, middle conference team actually bowing up and winning a national championship? And what do we complain about every single January? Oh, I don't want to see blowouts. Well, we saw plenty of blowouts this past year. Ohio State blew the hell out of Tennessee in Columbus. So, I mean, like, there's all these instances where we're trying to prevent against certain things. We want to give other people opportunities, but everybody should have the same guidelines and rules. Like, it's become very muddied. And this attempt to try and corral and govern the Wild West, we just opened up Pandora's box even more.
Yeah. College football had its issues, and I understand why it has to change. But we certainly are trying to get to a point where we ruin everything that's good about it, right? Like, I was on a radio show this morning at 5 a.m. because I forgot to tell them that I was in California. But I was on a radio show, and you know what I said? I said, look, I'm looking forward to getting with my buddies and drinking and tailgating and doing all those things. Yeah. And then those 3 hours, I mean, it was specifically about specifically about the Bama game. I just said, like, hey man, I'll see the game and the game will happen. Like, it'll be what it is. But, you know, the things that made college football so great, you know, rewarding excellence and cheering for players that you get to see developed in your program. And I mean, like, you know, to go a Florida State angle for a minute, Jordan Travis wasn't allowed to throw the ball when he got to Florida State. Like, they only brought him in running packages to where he finished top 10 in the Heisman with a broken leg. Like, he, you know, like, that was a great story to watch somebody be developed over 4 years of being at a program. And, yeah, I mean, like, a lot of that's gone, you know, and I think these coaches, I don't think the coaches are trying to ruin things. I think they're trying to do what's best for their program, but the sport in general is heading in a direction that needs fixing because it's unrecognizable, you know, from however long ago, you know, we enjoyed it. Somebody said, where's the angry guy at? I like his takes. Cole's at SEC Media Days. He was on for the first 20 minutes or so. You have to go check out the replay to see the beginning, and he'll be back next week. But that's hilarious. That's my new favorite comment that we've ever gotten on this channel. Where's the angry guy at? All right, let's go over the Big Ten for a minute, Tom, and talk about Big Noon Kickoff. Moving to a new host, right? Or a new, like the McAfee replacement, or not replacement, but the McAfee alternative with Dave Portnoy.
Programming. Yeah. Counter programming.
Okay. So I love this, but I want to hear your take first.
I think this is really interesting. So somebody who knows people who work on Big Noon Kickoff and work on College Game Day, it's very interesting to see the battle between those two programs. I was in State College and saw it firsthand for Penn State versus Ohio State this past year, just literally even where their sets are aligned and they were, you know, a couple hundred feet from each other, that sort of thing. Pat McAfee has taken over College Game Day. It's largely become the Pat McAfee show. When he was first introduced, you know, obviously Lee Corso is going to be officially retiring from ESPN in the near future and to start off this season. And McAfee gets brought in as, you know, some injection of that same type of personality and spark into College Game Day. And he absolutely captures what they were trying to capture. And then on the flip side, Big Noon Kickoff constantly trying to build its brand and then try to compete with College Game Day, even though Game Day had such a much bigger head start on Big Noon. The one thing that Big Noon has lacked for a number of years is that big time personality. Yeah. And it's nothing against anybody that's on that show. I have worked with a handful of them, but Mark Ingram is a bubbly personality, but he's not McAfee by any means. I don't think anybody would confuse the two. So I think there was that attempt to how can we capture that same audience that McAfee has captured? Well, let's not forget McAfee started out at one point in his broadcasting career with Barstool. So he has those same ingredients in what he puts out now on ESPN that Dave Portnoy laid the foundation for at Barstool. So this makes sense. I am very curious to see how Dave Portnoy is received because he's a very different personality from Pat McAfee. He's very outspoken. This is also someone who did not play at the college level or the pro level. So you're going to have a different element. Like McAfee can actually stand there and talk to you about what it's like being in big time games at the college level, the Super Bowl in the NFL level. Like he can talk about all these things credibly, and you can say what you want about him being a punter. Portnoy is going to provide something different. I think there's going to be an even edgier side to what Big Noon attempts to do with him. I don't know for sure. I'm curious to see how it goes. And here's the interesting wrinkle. Dave Portnoy is a very outspoken Michigan fan, to the point that he has bet on Michigan and he has contributed money to help Michigan get Bryce Underwood, the quarterback of the future for the Wolverines. So what is he going to be like on Big Noon during a Michigan broadcast, for instance, or an Ohio State broadcast for that matter? There will naturally be things to play off there. I think it's a very interesting move. And then on top of that, Fox is bringing on, it seems, Barstool content onto FS1. Listen, Barstool changed media. It's become much looser. It's why you and I and Cole are able to come on here and speak freely in a lot of ways that old media was not able to. So I'm really interested to see how Portnoy is received, because he can rub a lot of people the wrong way. Not that McAfee hasn't. McAfee has that endearing, fun quality about him. Portnoy is more combative, but he can be that fun, loving kind of frat boy style. So I'm excited to see what this actually looks like, and if this helps Big Noon compete with Game Day, if maybe not in terms of like the exact same ratings, but at least competing in terms of, hey, does our content make you want to change channels back and forth? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't mean to get so not political, because it's not really political in that vein, but a lot of people, I think, dislike ESPN for a lot of reasons. And whether it's, oh, they feel like ESPN's trying to push this certain narrative, whether it's political or just, so pro SEC. Not that Big Noon doesn't do that with the Big Ten. Like, that's fine. But I think a lot of people are turned off to SEC or ESPN because of that, because it's so SEC focused. They don't focus on a lot of the big games. Not that Big Noon, goes and does a deep dive on FSU Clemson, right? So I think there's, that factor on both of them. But I do think that Portnoy, like, he almost goes like the complete opposite agenda. Like, whatever narrative you think ESPN's trying to push down your throat, Portnoy probably stands for the opposite thing, right? Like, whatever politically you think ESPN's trying to do, Portnoy is the other guy. Like, he just is. Like, that's just who he is.
He's smart. He knows how to play the game. Yep. He knows, hey, if they're going this way, I got to go this way. And, the interesting thing for me with Game Day, as someone who watched that since I was a kid, it went from very much celebrating the spirit of college football and informing and educating to now there's almost this elitist vibe to College Game Day. I think Kirk Herbstreit has gone past, the quarterback that we used to love at Ohio State. He's now a pillar of broadcast media. Florida State fans certainly don't like him. Plenty of people who don't like him. Plenty of people who do like him. Desmond Howard is, it was funny. I was just watching a video of existing Big 12 players looking at the covers for the college football game of years past. Desmond Howard's on the cover. Most of these people that age don't recognize him. They have no idea who he is, unfortunately, which is just, you have to be a student of the game. And often he says some stuff and he puts his foot in his mouth. He put out a Final Four a couple of years ago that was atrocious. So there's some things with Game Day that need fixing. There's things with Big Noon that need fixing. And that's the model of live TV. I've done it for 13 years, so I understand this. But you have Reese Davis and Rob Stone holding down the fort. Both shows present something different. And now with Portnoy, you guarantee there's going to be something different about Big Noon on a regular basis. But again, I want to see how much he's involved, because you already have a pretty full desk there for Big Noon.
Yeah, I want to go back to what you said about the personality. I love Urban. I think he, as much as I hated him at UF and think he, maybe character stuff, you'd like, dang, there's a lot that's
breaking down the game. Yes.
He's so good, man.
Breaking down the game. He is great. Yes.
But like for an entertainment value. So like, I think the best shows are both entertaining and informative, right? And you get both aspects. That's why the Fox Sunday guys have always been the best to me. Like those guys are so good. They're so entertaining. But then like Terry's hilarious. Howie's so in depth. Strahan's really good. Like he's a good blend of both. They've always been so good to me. And I've always preferred the Fox over the CBS Sunday morning thing. Like, and I'm an NFC guy being, in Tampa. So that makes sense too. But I've thought that they've done that really well. I've always thought that ESPN or Game Day was always very entertaining, and Big Noon is much more informative. Like they're better at breaking stuff down. But now I think Big Noon has a chance to really be informative and entertaining with Portnoy because you're balancing that out some, and you do need to go one way or the other. When you brought McAfee on, not that he doesn't know ball, like that's not my point. You brought him on for entertainment. You didn't bring him in for deep dives on X's and O's and stuff like that. And so ESPN went, more entertainment. Well, that's the first letter of their network. So like, that's fine. But I do think that this gives Fox a chance to kind of balance that a little bit, be more entertaining. I also think from just a straight marketing perspective, Portnoy does so well with the, and Barstool in general. When you look at like our numbers here on College Football Addiction, it's like 60% 40 and over. And then it's like 80% 30 and over. And there's a very small subset of like college age people watching this. I'm not saying nobody does, but like the younger crowd doesn't consume this type of content that I've seen right now. I don't know what the Game Days analytics are, Big Noon Kickoffs analytics are. I would assume they follow some of those same trends. It's an older crowd. And when I say older, I mean, with families, college kids are out partying or hungover the next morning. I do think this might get some of that younger audience. Barstool skews a little bit younger. I don't think that younger audience, by and large, is watching Game Day or Big Noon, but this might get some of them to watch Big Noon, and it might be a brilliant marketing move for Fox. Now, maybe it flops, right? Maybe it goes completely the other way. Who knows? But I do think there's a chance that this really crushes for Big Noon.
Yeah, I think all the points you just said, Barstool, Portnoy, they do hit that demographic. Portnoy, as I mentioned, is very outspoken. He can say some things either on air or on his own social media that may rub corporate people the wrong way. So what's the lifespan on this? No idea. I think a lot of people have been asking the same question about Pat McAfee. When does he say the thing that ultimately torpedoes the whole thing? And that's kind of the magic of it. And the fun element of watching guys like this is it's unpredictable. So I think the competition's a good thing. And I'm very curious to see how Fox uses him, especially. And when there's a Michigan game on, that's going to be magic.
Yeah, that's the last point I wanted to bring up was you mentioned, what about when the Michigan or Ohio? Good, bring it on, right? Like I hope he is. And you know what? A lot of times fans of the own team, like he'll be more critical of Michigan than anybody else will, because everybody else will tiptoe around. Like he'll be a homer. Like if they're doing well, he will absolutely rub it in and be a homer and go all in. But when they're not doing well, they lose a big game, like he will go off. And I can't wait for it. Like bring it on, And I'm more critical of Florida State than you guys are, when they stink. And so like he's going to do the same thing. So I do think that he'll let the homerism show for sure. But I think that's good for it. I have no problems with that at all.
The beauty of McAfee and Portnoy is they are already sitting on FU money.
Right.
They don't care what comes out of their mouth to a degree. Like they're going to be measured. They're going to do the right thing for the show and the performance, all that sort of stuff. But there's nothing really that these corporate entities can do to scare them. Pat McAfee is a business unto himself. If ESPN fired him tomorrow, he'd go right along and he'd probably become an even bigger star somehow. Dave Portnoy does not need Fox. Barstool, you could argue, could use Fox's reach, but in a lot of ways, the points you were saying about demographics, Fox could use Barstool's reach, and it's a symbiotic partnership. Hopefully that's the goal. But yeah, these are two guys who they really don't care what people think about what they say, and they'll say whatever they want because there's almost no repercussions in their world. So it's definitely going to make it interesting. I, for one, am a nerd for college football, so I actually tend to gravitate towards the CBS Sports countdown show or whatever it is, the name of it is for college football, because I want to learn about the X's and O's, and I really like the team that they have. So I trend further away from the entertainment stuff the older I get, but I can understand if you're 18 to 25, 35, whatever, that, yeah, you absolutely want to be entertained and you want to see some wild stuff.
So ESPN's counter move, I've predicted this other places and stuff, but to replace Corso, once he's done playing, I mean, ESPN has to go get Jameis. We saw what he did during the Super Bowl, like putting Winston on, or I mean, Big Noon could go in that route too.
I think McAfee's been the replacement for Corso this whole time.
Really? See, it's just so different. Then Big Noon needs to go get. They need to get rid of somebody and go get Winston because he just makes it. Even if he's not on the set, like he could be like the sideline guy. Like remember Sam Ponder used to kind of do that. Like she'd be the one interviewing the coaches, she'd be the one talking because his numbers during the Super Bowl. Do you know that like? Yeah, he got more views. Now it's social media, so stuff gets shared differently. But like his content got more views the Super Bowl week than the Super Bowl did.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, it was like now obviously his stuff's getting retweeted everywhere, and he's doing multiple videos and their short form content. But yeah, his views that week got more views than the Super Bowl did. I think Fox will hire him. Like I 100%, like he does all these podcasts and stuff. I think he will be hired, probably by Fox, but by someone. Because everything he does is, I mean, not necessarily on the field. I hope he does well with the Giants this year, but everything he does off the field from a media perspective is absolute gold. And I think somebody will capitalize on it.
Eyeballs and entertainment. That's what it's all about right now.
All right, let's wrap up with this. I sent you an article for the wild card of the Big Ten not wanting to budge when it comes to this 5-11 versus 4-4-2-2-1-1 model. The Big Ten not wanting to give up their 4 automatic qualifiers unless the SEC goes to a 9-game schedule. SEC fans will defend this until they're blue in the face. Big Ten fans will go the opposite direction. I've got thoughts both ways. I understand both sides. I don't really care if the SEC never goes to a 9th game or not. I think there would be good in that. I think getting rid of one of the FCS games at the end of the year would be great. I would even love if those got moved to the beginning of the year. I hate the timing of them. I've seen a lot of comments on that. Like the SEC schedule, I would say this, and I don't know, maybe you'll agree, maybe you won't. But my guy Hunter, love the show, 44 days until FSU plays, but 37 until
appreciate that, Hunter.
37 until the game in Dublin. I'm not going to do. I almost did an Irish accent there, but I quit on it. So, but Hunter, I appreciate you. Oh, Hunter, I've got one more thing after the wild card that Hunter brought up too. But would you agree with this? I think even with that late season FCS, the SEC schedule overall is probably still tougher than the average Big Ten schedule. Just the average SEC schedule is probably a little bit tougher because they've got a little bit more depth in their conference, even though they play one less conference game. Would you agree with that?
Yes. I think there's more depth within the conference, just looking at some of the murderer's row schedules that a lot of these SEC teams have coming into this year. You're looking at it, it's like, man, you're like, just for the sake of a team, you're like, man, I hope they come away unscathed and that being like 3 or 4 losses or something like that. So it is more difficult, but also the landscape of college football, it's made it very clear that to play a difficult non-conference schedule is almost pointless. If you are in the top 33%, I'd say, of each conference, if you're Oregon, Penn State, Alabama, Georgia, why are you playing a non-conference game that is actually a big-time game? So, for instance, Texas, Ohio State, there's a lot of coaches out there being like, why would you take that game? Obviously, it's going to be a big draw and ratings and all that sort of stuff. But it's like, why would you say yes to scheduling that? Why not take Mercer in November when you're just trying to get to the postseason like a lot of SEC teams have done? I think the ultimate goal of the Big Ten is to get the SEC to say, we are equal to you. And I don't think that's going to happen. Yeah. And that's why they want 9 games. We're playing 9 games. You guys are playing 9 games. So that way we can look at the records and they can appear even. And we break that down in terms of who are those 4 automatic qualifiers, that sort of situation. I think that's the ultimate goal of the Big Ten. So good luck getting the SEC to say that they are the same as anybody else.
Yeah. And I get both sides' arguments. I think that by and large, if Florida State played, just an average team, right? I think Florida State will be an average team this year. In fact, I think they're going to go 6-6, right? So spoiler alert for my predictions. So I think Florida State's an average team. I would probably rather them play the median 9-game Big 10 schedule than I would the median 8-game SEC schedule. I think Florida State has a better chance of winning, call it 5 or 6 games against, the Big Ten's middle of the road than 5 or 6 games out of 8 of the SEC's middle of the so like I will agree, like the SEC's 8 games is probably tougher than the 9, but I think from the Big Ten's perspective, when we're trying to figure out how the committee is going to rank teams and how the Big Ten, by playing an extra game, like that is going to be what, I mean, that's 8 more losses, right? Like that's 8 more losses that the conference is going to take. How are we factoring in strength of schedule? How is all this coming into play? I understand their argument. The one thing I do hate is that late season FCS game. Now I hate that for every team that plays it, not just the SEC, but it is really prevalent in the SEC. You know, for example, Florida State played Charleston Southern, I think in week 11 last year too. So other teams are not immune from it.
Sure.
But man, when you're in the heat of a playoff race, like play those games early, play those as preseason. And I understand that schedules are made way far in advance and this, that, and the other, but there's really no reason for you to be playing Mercer in week 12 or 13 of your season before, sandwich between LSU and then Auburn the week after if you're Alabama, and then you're playing the school, the deaf and the blind before. Like just play the tough game or the tough games late or at least the conference games late. I think that would make a lot of people, I don't know that it would be the compromise that Tony Petitti wants or anything like that, but I do think that there is some value in the Big Ten never plays those games incredibly late. Like Ohio State always plays their Akrons and stuff way early. And so I do think that is a better product for the fan is to not have those games against the school of the deaf and the blind late in the year. Sorry for any Mercer fans that may be tuned in watching this. We keep ragging on your team, but you still get your
Citadel, especially.
Yeah.
November games.
Yeah, you still get your check either way. But I would like to see those moved at least. But yeah, I don't know which side budges here. Like the Big Ten doesn't want to go to the 5-11 model. I've talked about I don't think the 5-11 model. A lot of people in the Big 12 and ACC want that. You're putting a lot of faith in a committee that doesn't care about you if you really think that they're going to give you more at-larges. I think you take what you can get, with your couple of auto bids and then fight for the other spots. But either way, I don't know if the SEC or the Big Ten budges on any of this. Sorry, I know I've talked for forever.
No, I don't
points to go off of.
And again, it's like the SEC and the Big Ten are controlling the college football playoff, but the SEC has more of the cards in this situation. So the SEC does not have to acquiesce in this situation. And that's why the projection in your article is that, we're going to see a 12-team playoff this year, might see it again in 2026. I have no problem with the 12-team playoff. I am also one of those fans who's really tired of, well, we play this many games and this is what our strength of schedule is, that sort of thing. I'm like, just get it over with and cut it off and just do Big Ten versus SEC for the national champion. Just, I'm tired of all the other stuff where it's like, well, Utah could have a good year and they should be in it. It's like, listen, it's very clear what the 2 best conferences are in college football. Let them duke it out. Give me 8 from both. And if you want to jumble them all together so that it's not, Big Ten on one side of the bracket and the SEC on the other side of the bracket, fine. If you want to do what I just said and flip it, go for it. But that's what I think we're probably ultimately going to get at some point. I don't know how long it's going to take to get there, but yeah, the SEC, I do not see them agreeing to anything that will even remotely say we are equal to the Big Ten, because they believe they are equal to nobody. They believe they are the best conference in college football. They certainly have a lot of evidence to back it up, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's really interesting. The only way I could kind of see a budge is if we got clear and defined metrics for what the playoff committee would be looking for, right? Mm-hmm. Hey, we assign total wins 30%, and then we assign strength of schedule 25%, and then we assign head-to-head 10%, and then we assign, the Big Ten went 10-6 against the SEC, like conference strength. Mm-hmm. We'll give the Big Ten 10%, and then we'll go resume 5%. We'll go eye test 20%, like whatever. Just give us an actual construct. Because that's the biggest problem with the 5 versus 11. Like the ACC and the Big 12. Oh man, we can't settle for just 2. We got to be able to earn more. Listen, yeah, that sounds good, but I'm telling you, the College Football Playoff Committee is never putting more than 1 or 2 Big 12 or ACC teams in. Like that 9-3 Alabama team is getting in every time, right? Like you're screwed. So it sounds good because now if it was a computer model and you didn't have like the ACC and the Big 12,
I'm all for give me the BCS again because I'm done. Oh, a committee member feels and their opinion is this team is better than that. It's like, nope, numbers. Make this hard and fast. This is what gets you in.
They're always going to favor, like our show, the Power 2. Like, that's just what's going to happen. So it's silly to me to try and fight for the other stuff. The other thing I think this kind of hurts is it sounded like we were really close to a Big Ten SEC scheduling agreement. And I don't think we're close on that now. Now, things could change tomorrow, right? Like before this clip even comes out. But things could change quickly. But, man, I wanted to see that set on the field. I wanted to see, just like you have the ACC Big 10 or ACC Big 12, whatever it is, challenge in basketball, and you've got some of these across different sports. Man, I would love to see every single year do it like, I know we hate the NFLization of college football. Do it like the NFL. The number one team in the SEC last year plays the number one team. Like Georgia plays, who won it? Oregon. And the runner-up, Penn State, plays Texas. And then down the line, man, go by the end of season rankings and play those games. You schedule them a year out, in December, so you know who your rotating rival is, and you play them. The seventh best team in the SEC, and then you get to the end of the year, and whoever wins that challenge, right, both teams would need to be equal, both conferences would need to be equal, which I think they eventually get to 20 or whatever the number is to make them equal. But at the end of the year, whoever wins that gets an extra, like make that 10% of the playoff vote, or whatever. Like make that, the Big Ten won the challenge. They went, so there's 20 teams. They went 11-9. They get a nod, right? Like when you get to the end of the year. I don't know, man. Like stuff like that would be so cool. And then you'd see it on the field. We wouldn't have all this, oh, well, our seventh best team is better than your sixth best team or whatever. Like who cares about that, man? Just go play football games. And so that is one thing about this playoff, like, back and forth, that I think we are getting further away from a Big Ten SEC scheduling agreement. And that was like one of the changes in college football that I think I was looking forward to the most. Like I was like, yes, more football, more good football. I think we're further away from that now, unfortunately.
Yeah, like the networks absolutely want to see the Texas versus Ohio State type game early in the season, a non-conference game like that. But the coaches probably do not, in the grand scheme of things. And like from a competition standpoint, yeah, everybody wants to prove they're the best, that sort of thing. Everybody wants to compete. But in terms of the potential success of your team through the season and how are you going to be judged, that's always going to be a problem.
Yeah. I wouldn't even hate, man, if you got to a point with automatic qualifiers and stuff where your out of conference record was really just used as a tiebreaker, right? Like where you play 3 out of conference games and then you play your 9-game schedule, and really just what you do in the, like your top 4 SEC teams go and your top 4 Big Ten teams go. And that's all based on what you've done inside the conference, right? Would that maybe create years where you had a few out of conference losses, but then but you'd almost treat that like a preseason and use that as like for seeding or things like that. But what gets you in, I think I just fixed it. But what gets you in is what you do in your 9-game conference schedule, just like the NFL model, right? Like what you do in your division matters. And then we could have a lot of fun and bragging rights and what it means for postseason and seeding and stuff like that based on what happens in those 3 out of conference games. But man, I'd love to see, the AC. I'd love if we could get all 4 conferences and this would stink for the group of 5, I guess. And so maybe you couldn't do this, but I'd love to see if the SEC played 1 Big 12 team, 1, ACC team and 1 Big 10 team. And that was your 3 games, or move everybody's conference schedule down to 8. So you can play 1 group of 5 team and go with that, right? Play 1 from each of the Power 4 and play your Patsy, like play your group of 5 team and roll with that, right? And then everybody kind of is playing everybody. You have better scheduling. In the NFL, I do like the model where within every 4 years you play everybody in the NFL. And that's a cool aspect of getting to see new teams and new rivalries and stuff like that. Now it'd take it'd be like 30 years in college because of how many teams there are. But I think that'd be kind of a cool model to go to eventually. So the scheduling needs fixed.
Let me guess. You wanted to end on Hunter's comment about Nick Saban to Florida State. Am I right?
Yeah. So like now I will say Hunter drinks a lot. And so I will say, and that's not even a joke. Like he really does. But Saban FSU, is this now I will say this. I think there's 0% chance of this happening. He's been linked a couple of times, or he's been mentioned, as maybe wanting to return. I think that if wheels fall off and Mike, now if they go 7-5, they're just going to kick the can down the road. If they were to go 4-8, like another meltdown of a season, would Saban not make a lot of sense to come stabilize the program for the next guy? Like it's a historic college football power. I'm not actually painting this as a possibility, but while I ramble for a minute, it's an actual college football power. Like I've got Florida State rated as about a top 12-ish team all time. If you want to argue closer to 10, closer to 15, that's fine. I wouldn't go much further either way, but top 12-ish program all time. You're coming in to stabilize a program, not to like, you're not necessarily competing for titles, although with the portal and recruiting, like you can turn things around quickly, but you're coming in to try and fix something and be that transition coach, be that what they thought Mac Brown would be what they think Belichick will be, whatever. Is there any value in that for Saban's side? I don't know. For FSU's side, I think there's a ton. Like, I think, yeah, if you're Florida State, you would do that in a heartbeat to try and set the program right. And you'd probably, with Saban coming in, you'd probably in year 1 or 2 name the next head coach in waiting, and he would take over a year or 2 after that. Now, I don't know if it makes any sense for Saban to do that. I think if you're coming back, you want to win titles. For FSU, it would make all the sense in the world to bring a guy like that in.
So a couple of things. There was the point of, hey, is this just a story out there that Jimmy Sexton, his agent, put out there to try and leverage a better deal with ESPN going forward?
Probably.
Entirely possible. There's been the consistent conversation of there should be a commissioner of college football. Nick Saban's name often comes up. But let's go back to the reasons why he has said publicly that he has left coaching is because of the direction of the sport, because of the money element, and that he believes it's very transactional. He's talked about his conversations with his wife, Miss Terry, and that more often than not, when they're hosting families, they're asking how much as opposed to what can my son accomplish at your university? You know, what's the pro potential? What is the education? You know, all these things that matter to, I'll say, old school coaches. And I've heard James Franklin refer to it as transformational as opposed to transactional. There's probably a stronger chance Nick Saban goes to a service academy school than he does an actual school that's in like the Big Ten, the SEC, the Big 12, the ACC, that is like, we're fighting for dollars and recruits and championships and all that stuff. It seems like, at least from what you understand from a 30,000 foot view, is that Nick Saban cares about molding the lives of young people, coaching and teaching the sport of football. And if you go to any school that is automatically thinking is like, well, yeah, we'll bring you in and you're going to be 75 years old. And then in 5 years, you can name your replacement. Like, what really matters to him? Because he can call his shot. What matters to him, it seems to be, from my view, from a million miles away, is that he cares about making the sport better for young people, coaching, training, educating, teaching, and getting that opportunity. There's very few places where you can actually do that anymore in major college football. So I would probably see him landing at Navy, Army, or Air Force far faster than I would see him back at Michigan State, in the ACC at Florida State, somewhere in the SEC, trying to revive a program and try and make them a power to rival his old schools like Alabama and LSU. I would be very surprised for him to go back, because while there's progress every day within the sport, for all the reasons we've been talking about for the last hour, you're still walking into this completely messed up business situation. And I don't think Saban wants to deal with that.
Yeah, it would shock me. Honestly, it would shock me if he came back anywhere. It would surprise me a ton if he was to come back, because I do think college football, maybe I'm an eternal optimist, I do think it gets fixed, right? Like, I don't know if that's because of an executive order or Congress or the schools finally do it, but I don't think that that's close, right? Like, I do think within like 5, 6, 7 years, I do think we have a better, more stable model. I think realignment. I think when you look at every aspect, the portal, realignment, NIL, pay for play, house settlement, all that stuff, I think that in 5 to 7 years, all that gets mostly fixed. Florida State, Clemson find a new home, North Carolina, maybe Miami, things like that. The Big 12, the ACC has a new look. The Big 10 and the SEC have agreed to a playoff format. The SEC has probably gone to 9 games. There is a Big 10 SEC scheduling agreement. We know how the College Football Playoff Committee works. The portal gets fit, all that stuff. All that happens when Saban's like 80. Like, he ain't coming back then, So like, if it could get fixed next year, which is not happening, then yeah, maybe he does come back. But I don't think we're anywhere close to it. And that's the problem. He left because it's broken. It's not getting fixed anytime soon. And, but again, I still think it makes all the sense in the world for Florida State. I think it makes no sense at all for Nick Saban. It would make a lot of sense for a lot of these, a lot of programs that are in a similar situation to Florida State. They're not the only one, but they may be the largest brand that you can kind of think of that could use that kind of influx of, I don't know, just good coaching.
If I was to place a bet today, he's back at ESPN.
Yeah, that's what makes the most sense. But Hunter, just we're praying for you, man. We hope it happens. I mean, I hope it happens for me too. So let's roll. All right, TJ Pittinger, Tom Hannifan, the Power 2. Appreciate you guys for dealing with us while we're on the road, while we're doing different stuff. We'll be back next week. I just realized that ACC kickoff is next Wednesday. Florida State's Day is next Wednesday too. So I got to figure out the timing on that. I'll talk with the guys.
And Big Ten Media Days next week as well.
Yeah, so we may have to do some pivoting next week and do it on a different day. But thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe over on YouTube. It's College Football Addiction. That's where you find the Power 2 every week. And Tom, we are getting close to kickoff. Next week will be 30 days until Dublin kicks us off. But we'll talk to you soon, man.